for those of you who have some experience already, I would really want to hear about your experience and to discuss strategies and take questions. And not only I answer them, but other people with experience. But I know some people, they've never done anything like this before. And I have always chosen my SI leaders. And it's been really important in the process because not only do they understand how I work and I understand how they work, that having that relationship before you go into the class together really makes a big difference. And so I know some of you, this is all new, so that might even be one of the things that you do. How do you assess who could be a good SI leader? Because that is important. So now that we have more people here, is there anybody from media who is willing to be just a highlight or two for media from this breakout room?
What Chair Stein is here.
Yeah, but I'm noticing a lot of my faculty aren't here yet who were in the room. There was maybe 6 or so people who are in the media arts technology departments that are not in this room, who I saw in the main room.
Yeah, Chris, I think people are just having trouble. There's so many people trying to get in.
It's taking a minute for people to get in. There was when I left originally, there were 60 people who were unassigned at first.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think we had. Yeah, you know what? We had 160 replies, so they're just huge amount of people. But here's my SI. I'm happy to start, Chris, if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm Susan Stratton, and I've been at BMCC for 5 years, and I've had SIs for 4 of those years, and I would never go back. I just love the collaboration. And to Claudia's point, I've chosen my SIs very carefully. I had to write them down. There's so many of them now. AJ, Marcel, Kevin, Alex, Andrew, Chanel, Andre, and now Michelle. And they've really represent a microcosm of everybody at BMCC. They speak Spanish, French, Italian, Tagalog, Russian, Jamaican patois, and even a smattering of Mandarin. And what's so cool about that is that they're able to relate to students in a way that I cannot. One of the things that I check with SIs before as I'm interviewing them is their fluidity with social media. Because what we're finding, and I'd love Andre, who's my SI, who's here, is to make sure that they're up to date on their social media skills, because we're finding that students are so busy, not only with their academic work, but they're all working to make a living, that we need to be able to find them on the weekends, need to be able to find them at night on the subway as they're coming into class, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. And then just to use texting to set a time to meet with students. There is another thing, we've been able to innovate a little bit, and Andre, you're around here, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, maybe you could, good morning to you and your koala. Maybe you could talk about the Leadership Academy that you set up, kind of working with team members in class as another way that you as an SI leader can mentor people.
Right. So first, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see familiar faces. Hi, Professor Newbrand. Good to see you again. Yeah, so the way that MES 152 was structured is we had multiple groups of students working on a group project throughout the whole semester, and professor assigned leaders and co-leaders to those groups based on their first assignment that they hand in. And aside from the class material, these leaders, they have the stress of being a leader, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want them to think that, they have to do more than what they have to. So every 2 weeks for, say, the first half, because after half the class was taken care of, they kind of had a grip on it. So what I did was I would meet with them every 2 weeks and just go over a few things to make their lives a little easier, how to handle themselves as leaders. And in my opinion, it worked, because in the beginning, it was really shaky amongst most of the teams, but then it started to pack together really well. And aside from those, you know, it was really interesting to see how the students treated SI sessions. I think somebody in the main meeting mentioned that I think it was Johannes Hamilton, if you go once, you keep going. And that was true. You know, most of the students who went to SI sessions with me, they were the ones who went from the beginning, well, near the beginning, and then they just kept asking for meetings, you know? So yeah, that's what I have to say for now.
So why don't we get some feedback from the music department? I don't know how many are here. We're on more than one screen, but what were some of your experiences?
Well, music and art is here, so we're one department. So Dr. Robert Reed is here, and then Siobhan McBride is here as well. I don't know if Siobhan has experience with SI. Siobhan, do you? So, so Siobhan may want to share. We've been using SI in our department for, Robert and I have been using SI in our music major courses, and also for survey courses. Robert, I don't know if you used in your survey course, but I know this summer I'm using an SI in my asynchronous survey course, and we had a really great turnout last week, which is really encouraging. But I also showed up myself, and I make sure the students know I'm going to show up. So for an asynchronous class, I think showing up to pop into the to the SI sessions has been especially helpful for attendance. I think that's my biggest thought right now. I don't know if Robert and Siobhan have anything to add in their experience.
My experience is because one of our gateway classes for the music major, or Music 105, it would be nice to actually have the PAL, because that way students could go to a number of sessions rather than just one specific time for their particular section. Today's the first I've heard of that modality for the peer assisted learning. So that, I think we definitely need to look into. It would greatly benefit our students.
I've used an SI in my Drawing Studio 1 class, and other people have mentioned this, but it's really important to have like a good relationship with that person and to kind of know them pretty well. So my most recent SI, I had her in 3 drawing classes, like, you know, Drawing Studio 1, Drawing Studio 2, Life Drawing, you know, so I worked with her quite a lot, and now she knows exactly how I teach, and she also like does a lot of the drawing, so I'll make an assignment and she'll do it while the students are doing it, so they can see like the best example, you know. So it's been really, really productive, and the students love her and like interact with her outside of class ton, and you know, it's been very positive.
Yeah, and I think that's really important in speech as well. That and you have usually 2 or 3 possibilities a week per class, depending on the budget and how it's structured, for students to meet. It's not just 1 hour, but it still is very hard to find times. However, I had one student who did, and this is when we were all in person, did 1 online session. And that even helped open things up. And for speech, I found what worked really well about these outside SI sessions, smaller group, and time to try things out with this smaller group and build up some confidence. So you're creating a low risk practice situation, but with real feedback, and not just from fellow students, but from somebody who already got an A in the class. So you feel confident about that feedback. And so and if you know the SI leader well, it's really good to practice feedback with them. And part of that is asking them their perceptions of the students. And what are the students saying? No names, right? But then they can be very honest with you. Like, oh, they're really struggling with this. They love this. That really worked. And that conversation, and that was already touched on in the bigger room, it really helps construct not just proficiency in those skills, but creating their professional persona and community all at the same time. And again, I feel when we talk about difficult classes, it's not just the material, it's that there's something high risk emotionally and professionally for the students, which makes it more challenging as well. So having the PAL or the SI sessions kind of creates a sort of a space where it's a little lower risk. Questions? I thought somebody had a question. Okay, so I know some other people had experiences, maybe not in at BMCC, but other places, and or if any questions.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Dolores. I'm the office assistant in the Learning Resource Center. I just want to jump in and ask everyone that's in this room to either email me or direct message me their name, their CUNY ID number, and their status, whether they are staff or SI leader, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is so you can get paid.
Does she have an email?
Yes, it's in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Do you see it?
I'm looking. Nope, don't see it. Oh, S. Stratton.
No, that's me.
No,
I see
no,
it.
no, 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 no.
Nope,
But
see
above
it.
that.
Again.
nope, don't see it. Don't have it.
Okay. Would you mind just putting in your email one more time?
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So,
Thank you.
so what are some of, yes, Chris.
Hey, Claudia.
Hi.
So one of my big questions that I've had from listening to this presentation so far is how the peer guidance is going to overcome one of the bigger issues that I have. So we've talked a lot about how there's what I'm going to call the 5-week drop off. Basically, after the first big assignment, you to get the grade back, students have a propensity to stop coming. One of my perceptions has always been that it's a time commitment issue. The fact that students are working, students don't have the finances to be able to stop attending work and subsequently aren't able to dedicate their time and resources to class. How is this going to address that concern?
Well, I mean, if they really have to work and therefore can't make it to class, then there's still students lost because of situations like that. However, what it does help is a lot of students, it's not, they're feeling overwhelmed and that they can't do it. And instead of a professor, and if the SI leader or the professor sees this struggle in the student where they lack confidence, you have this other person who isn't grading them, who isn't a professor, who can talk with them and say, come to a session, let me try and help you out. And it's not tutoring, it's a peer. And so, and they can have that conversation. And again, it creates this low risk. Well, I heard one SI leader one time say, well, you have nothing to lose. It's not in front of the professor, it's just with me. So, and that student did stay, who was thinking, I can't do it, so I might as well cut my losses now. I'm not going to be able to do this. And so that a lot of what it is addressing is before they even do time management, because a lot of what you're talking about is time management, is that, do I belong? Can I do this? And they see the student who's just like them, who got an A in this course, wanting to talk with them, wanting to help them strategize. That's going to open up the door for a lot of possibilities, because now they're not doing it alone, they're being supported. So is it going to catch everybody? No, but is it going to catch a lot of those students? Yes.
But as to time management, what I found after 4 years is, as long as an SI can get somebody in a text for 2 minutes, then they're that's a natural hook. Then they get on the phone, then they can do a Zoom session or whatever is required. And that has to be repeated, but there's a lot of using SI, use detective work trying to find out when are the open times. And I'm not kidding, we get people on their breaks at McDonald's just so that there is some kind of contact, which may be the only contact that a student has to help them with their homework in a particular class. And then they build on that. So the attrition rate is very low now. I probably lose maybe only one or two students a semester. And that could be for a variety of reasons. And then everybody else passes with the propensity of A's and B's because of this ladder of learning. And you put it beautifully, there's no risk here.
Yeah.
It's not like a professor. And that's the main, that communication is everything.
And though I have to underline, because our SI leaders are very dedicated, it's really important to speak with them about keeping clear boundaries about when they are available. I learned that the first semester of, no, you do not have to be on your email at midnight. No, it can wait till the morning at that point. And to make sure that they, to help them, they're gonna help you with a lot of stuff, but I feel I have trust in this SI leader. I'm not gonna micromanage them, but the one thing I found really important to help them feel confident and balanced as an SI leader is going, okay, strategize the times you're available for outreach and all of that, and work within those limits so that they don't get burnt out or overwhelm themselves.
Yeah. Claudia, do your SIs have like office hours like Andre has from 11 to 1, 5 days a week? So students can always find him.
Yes. And it's not real office hours. That means I will always be on my phone with an email ready. So
right.
You can talk to me then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Craig.
So this is really interesting. So just two questions. Do we select our own SIs, or will they be assigned one for us, or do we interview them? So that's question A. And then question B is, where would they, going back to campus, where will they hold these hours? Like, where could they meet with a group of students? We're kicked out of our classes the second it ends, and we've had that before, Claudia and I.
So yeah. First of all, I know people who have been want to do this and didn't feel that they knew a student and was assigned some already established SI leader, and that can work out well. But as I said, it really flourishes when you pick that student. And what I use, and Susan, please talk about your assessment. What I looked at was not that the student got an A, though the student can, it's good that they have an A. But that also, how are they with the group, that particular class? And one of my SI leaders is on the spectrum, and he just blossomed in the class, and the students reacted well to him, and because he was a little different but very much the same. And I thought, wow, he makes people feel comfortable. And they go, wow, if he, with everything he's struggling with, can do a good job, I can do a good job. So it's a great SI leader. And I knew I could talk with him and strategize, and he felt comfortable with me. Right. So because that's really important, that you feel the student is going to be comfortable working with you.
I'd say the one thing over the 4 years I've been choosing this, I'd like Andre to jump in here, who's my current SI, will be an SI with me again in the fall, is they have to have the helping gene. I mean, Andre is a great writer, he's a team leader, but if all that pales if he did not have the helping gene. And Andre, maybe you want to talk about one of your experiences with a student in the Thursday night class who was having great difficulty because of language difficulties and whatnot. And you brought up some similar things that you were going through.
Oh, yeah. So his name is Leo, for the sake of simplicity. So Leo, he did not speak English as well as he wanted to, and he didn't write as well as he wanted to. He spoke Cantonese, I believe. And like you could tell that he had a lot to say. He just didn't know how to say it, and he was, I guess you could say, he was embarrassed of it. And every time Professor and I would come to him and be like, hey, there are, some resources to help you, that would make him think, oh, I'm not good enough. Immediately that's what students think. Like if an authority figure comes up to you and says, you need help, then you think, I'm not good enough. But then I'm like, hey, Leo, listen, I dealt with the same thing, albeit I wasn't your age. You know, I was 7 years old in second grade. My native language is Russian, and I would speak Russian at home all the time. Went to a Russian daycare, all that. And in kindergarten through second grade, you know, even though I could read, I couldn't express myself. So I just had to practice. You know, I did it on my own time because little secret, I was bullied for it. But my teachers also did help. And when I shared this experience with him, he was kind of more open to it. He was more open to the idea. And then he was like, okay. And then he stopped saying, no, I don't need it. And he started asking, okay, where can I go? But then that was like a whole issue to try to tell him where exactly to go to actually drill it into his head. But the mentality shifted, and that's what matters. You know, just like Claudia was saying, how her SI was, you know, even though they had some difficulty, you know, the students saw that and they were like, well, if he's capable, then I am. You know, similar case here. Like if I was capable of doing it, you know, as a 7-year-old, he's definitely capable of doing it as a young adult. You know, and so
Yeah,
it's just a matter of perspective and not necessarily instruction.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. But you spent a lot of time with him and it just made all the difference. And at the end of the class, which was held remotely, he said, am I going to see you guys again? You know, it was just, it felt good. But to choosing an SI, I usually make a short list of 3 people. I interview them and I see what their schedules are and whatnot. And the reason I chose Andre is he said, I think I'd be a good SI because I try to learn from my mistakes. So, you know, that kind of thing, you know, when you get back and forth and kind of do an email or a remote interview, you hear these things and it's been successful. Also, I don't just choose the SIs choose me, you know, so there has to be that sort of two-way street. Otherwise, that's no go.
Logistically, how does it happen?
How does
What
what?
do you mean?
How does it happen in terms of the selection and who do we go
That's up
to?
to that's up to each professor, how they feel comfortable assessing. There's no particular way. I start off usually with a conversation at the end of the semester with 1 or 2 students that I feel might be a very good candidate. And as you say, especially with SI, because they need to attend the class, they're paid for attending the class. And the more you use them in class, the more you let them talk, the more they participate in the activities, the more students are going to go to those sessions if they can, because now it's a buddy and not this other thing. It's a chance to hang out.
So
But
if,
the
after you have,
process is up to you.
after you have selected and identified what's next, who reach out to? Yeah.
Then they have to
Yes.
get training. So then they have to get training. And Gia, is it Gia or is it?
They go to Nandrani and Gia
Nandrani.
Blackwell at the Learning Resource Center, and they just attend a simple orientation. And that's kind of about it. You let them know, let your department know. I always let Chris Stein know this is who or whoever he has put in charge of this. And then there's just some paperwork to get the student on the payroll. And CUNY's like the DMV, it takes forever, but they will get paid and stuff like that. So, you know, you just have to be brave about that. But I think it's totally worth the effort. But it's your call as a professor, who you want. You just have to let your department know, and then the Learning Resource Center, and then they help you from there. It's really kind of, you don't have to do very much. They get back to you.
Can you talk a little bit?
Wait, there's a lot of hands up. There's a lot of hands up. I'm sorry, Alexander. Lisa, I think you were the first one with a hand up. That's okay.
I don't think I was the first, but with somebody else. Well, here's my question. Do they still have to be enrolled at, like, I know a bunch of students who would be great SIs. Some of them have graduated. Some of them are still students.
You know, you can be a graduate of BMCC or have transferred to another school and still be an SI leader, especially if you think they are a good person. The only requirement is that they were at some point at BMCC. That's the only requirement. Okay, I don't know who had their hand up first. There's 4 of you now. So does anybody know?
I can go next.
Okay.
Yeah, so first time SI professor and also my SI leader is on this call as well.
Okay.
So I want to be able to train her and give her some more like one-on-one instruction during, you know, the summertime, perhaps before semester begins, and also during the semester. Will she get paid for that? Because I don't want her to do that if she's not getting paid. And the second question is, I tried to find out what the cap is for the hours for our SI leaders. And it said, and Gia said it depended on the course hours. So is it per hour, or is it like if you have 3 course hours or 4 course hours, it's a different rate? Can someone clarify?
I think, and
I
who's
can answer
with?
that, Professor
Thank
Tim.
you, thank you. I was like, wait, who's with us? Can you please answer that? Thank you.
Yes. Which department are you from, Professor? That would be my first question.
Sure, Media Arts and Technology.
Media Arts and Technology. So for Media Arts and Technology, and Professor Stein, you can jump on board with this. Will you still have your grant for next semester? Professor Stein?
Yes, and Revital can maybe talk more about that too, because she's helping to handle the budget for the grant part of it.
Yes, we are going to still pay for SI leaders for 1 more semester, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think we have to look at it. It's possible we'll do it in the spring as well. That'll be a year.
Okay.
But we have to, I think this summer, we're going to get more details on the final budget, because the grant budget year doesn't end until September. So we'll know better sometime midsummer what the exact figure is and how many semesters we'll be able to do it.
And yeah, so we're hiring SI leaders for the fall. So if you have someone in mind, then yes, just let me know and we'll do the hiring. Or I'll guide them through the hiring.
No, that's not the question. The question is, what's the cap per hour of the class?
So again,
for every, what's the cap of hours for an SI leader per class, per semester?
Okay, so SI leaders work during class time, so whatever your class time is, and then 2 hours outside of class.
And I don't believe there's additional prep time. So anything you do in the summer, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I don't think they get paid prep time. So unless they're actually.
We used to pay prep time when we were in person, and we didn't pay it during the last year. I think it's something that is negotiable. If extra hours, they can definitely come and talk to me about it, and we can see, and we might add that.
Yeah, I think definitely ask us about it, and we'll know more. Like, I would say not like now, because we don't know quite enough yet, but later on in the summer it may be possible.
Okay, because we only have a few minutes left, I want to remind our reporter Maureen and Vincent and somebody from the media to report highlights. Nobody volunteered from media, so I hope somebody will volunteer now. Anybody from the media? Just 1 or 2 highlights? Very shy in the media.
I came in late at the meeting. When I got here, you guys had started. You already did.
Okay, so, but I think you might be the next one with a question. So.
Okay, some practical stuff. So I think I got some answered. We're not in media. We're not worried about the PAL. We're not worried about that. We don't have that. Correct?
This is actually maybe one for Janice to talk about. We're sort of in a transition period, right? So we have the grant that's supporting SI leaders, but that's going to be gone, and so we're also looking to start transitioning some people to the other forms that will be supported. So if you're interested in that, you can let us know. We can discuss it with Dean Zumo and look into that.
I'm just asking if it's even an option for us. And then we are always having 1 SI per class. We can have more than 1 SI if we, like, for other classes. Like, in other words, can we have 1 SI for every class?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can use the same one in each class, or each one has a different SI leader.
Right.
Right. So in other words, 3 classes, 3 SI leaders, or 1 class, 2 SI leaders?
No.
Oh,
Okay. That's what I meant. Yeah. Good. Okay. Okay.
Group 5, I think you're next, but I don't know your name. All I see is group 5.
Anthony.
Anthony.
Thank you, Claudia. Yeah, okay, so my nominee has a full course load in the fall semester. I understand that he can make 2 hours available outside of class time, and pending my decision about exactly how often I want him in class, he needs to attend the classes as well. So where does that leave his earning? In other words, how many hours is he paid for? Will he be paid for? And also, approximately how much preparation will he need? I believe it's someone mentioned that it was not a big time commitment for him to get his orientation for that.
Well, orientation is separate and paid for.
Right.
So every
Okay.
hour that he's in class, he gets paid for, or she gets paid for. And then whether sometimes you get 3 hours outside, sometimes it's 2 hours, but whatever contact time the SI leader has, they are paid for. Preparation depends on the professor and the SI leader.
Sure, no, I understand that aspect of preparation. I was not asking about that. I was asking about the general orientation for him.
Yeah, that's just what the expectations, how to approach their role in the classroom in a general sense. They expect the professor to clarify the role more concretely to the SI leader.
Specifically, of course, yes. All right, so he'll be paid for the general orientation, and then he and I can, meet before the semester starts and go over everything. Will he be paid for that time?
That prep time, I don't think so.
No, I didn't think so
No.
either. Okay, and then I guess that's about it then. But if he makes 2 hours available per week, whether or not students contact him for all of those 2 hours, is he paid for those 2 hours?
Yes, but
Okay, thank you.
But you do want to make sure, it's really important, you don't do random hours. We have found that if they're close to the class time, then you're more likely to get students coming because they're already there. That's one thing. And actually somebody asked about rooms. That depends. Sometimes certain rooms, if your class is in Fitterman, there's certain rooms that can be made available. That can be a little tricky. The library
remote in the fall, I assume. That's as I understood it. Anyways, I needed to confirm that.
Yeah, no, but that, as said in the main week, that it's still up in the air how we're going to deal with it now. But in the past, in person, there were multiple rooms that were made available, but you had to sign up for them. So, and that will be dealt with in the orientation. But I don't think now we know exactly how we're going to handle it come this fall.
Thank you.
I think Alana had her hand. Yes. You have to unmute. You have to unmute.
Sorry, just a quick one. I understood from one of you that 2 hours of the SI work outside of class are paid for, plus the class. But if the SI doesn't attend all classes, could they be paid for 3 hours outside the classroom?
The structure of SI is that they are in the class. They are
Every time.
And every class.
Oh, okay.
And of course, if they have a doctor's appointment or they get sick, just like a student or a faculty member, of course.
Okay.
But that's not negotiable. Okay. Because there is a cap and it changes on how many hours. So you might actually get an additional outside hour, but that has to do with how things are budgeted, what the grant says, and that can change from semester to
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Hands are up. Claire.
Yeah, my question is, do the SIs get the same Creative Suite thing on their compute? Do they get access for a discount or for free, or what do we know about that?
I don't understand what
Yeah,
you're
for
referring to.
software.
I'm
So
sorry.
I guess this.
Claire,
this-
we can
Oh,
talk about
they-
that one later. Yeah, I can,
okay.
You're
we can go
talking
over
about for media in particular, all
Yeah,
of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Forget it.
Yeah.
But it is really important, not only, they cannot get the professional Zoom access that we can. So when we transitioned in spring of 2020 to distance learning, there, I created the Zoom link for their sessions because they couldn't, but I made them a co-host. So they came so that they were able to, and I, unlike the others, I don't pop in on the SI sessions because I felt let that be their space. But I think again, it's in different disciplines, it's different needs, because as I said with speech, I feel it's a time for them to try things out without me seeing it. So it would be counterproductive for me to just pop in and be like, hi, how you doing? So you need to think about your relationship also to that SI session as a faculty member. But yeah, no, the technology stuff, they have only the access that you can grant them above and beyond what any student at BMCC would have. So that depends on what you can do. Alana, do you have another question?
No.
Okay. So, wow, this is a lot of information.
I think Professor Carney.
Okay, I can't see, but please go.
Yep. Sorry, I can't make myself visible. My back is spasming.
Oh, no, okay, sorry. And you were very patient. You waited your turn.
Okay. My apologies for butting in before. I didn't realize, I can't see whose hands are raised. Never. So, but anyway, is there anything that an SI cannot do? That like what are they not allowed to do? I know they can't give the grade. That's what we do. But is there something that they're just not like? Nope, they don't do that.
Well, yeah, do not treat them like a TA. They don't grade papers. They have nothing to do with the grading whatsoever. This is about peer. This is still peer learning, which means it's about this moment, this aspect. Let me help you.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, of course, they are learning to assess because they come to the professor with some feedback. So they are learning to assess, but yeah. I don't know if you want to add those who've been doing it, other things, but yeah, no, they're not TAs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't teach. Maybe Andre could jump in here. It's a fine line. They can go over material, but they do not teach it. They do not, always say, they do not advance the argument or the material, but they go over what exists. I don't know, Andre, if you have something else to add.
Yeah, like if a student is not understanding a concept, right, then you don't, like, as an SI, I'm not going to sit here and reteach it to them. I'm going to help them learn to learn it. Like I'll help them understand it in a way that they can understand it. Maybe I'll provide my perspective, but I cannot teach them the material,
And
like
what we've done in class is Andre brings his examples from a previous semester for certain assignments, Andre, right?
Yeah.
You can go over those.
Yeah. So professor is the one who lectures, she has the attention of the entire class. And then towards the end, professor's like, oh, here's Andre's example from last semester. And I'm like, yeah, so this is what we did. This is how I go through my work and I explain part of my thought process, so they don't so that they could get their own ideas and they don't base it off of what I did,
Trey, can I ask you a question about that? When you say you share your thought process, so the professor has, just to pose this, the professor has said, this is the material, we work our way through the material, and then you share your thought process. Can you give me an example of how this worked in real time?
Yeah, sure. So one of the lessons that the students have to go through is what a transmedia map is, right? And that is a little more on the complex side of the material that's taught in MES 152. And professor teaches what a transmedia map is, right? But then, you know, she explains what it is, she explains what it has to do, what it has to say, what it has to show. And then when it comes to my turn to show my work, you know, I show my transmedia map, which is an image, right? And then I'm like, well, this is my transmedia map. And to design it, my teammates and I thought this, and we thought that, and we thought that, right? So every topic that a group in the class does is completely unique. You know, it's unique from mine, it's unique from the group next to theirs. So for our transmedia map, for example, it was, okay, well, a little more background. My project was about the cast iron district in Soho, New York, you know, and it's known for its buildings. And we decided to create like a building layout for our transmedia map, you know. So the way I explain my our thought process was our landmark has to do with buildings. So we took an icon, which is a building, and we decided to map out said building because, you know, we needed to make a map. So, and then we had other students, and then, sorry, professor also showed examples from previous years, not previous years, but from other groups where it's not necessarily like ours, you know, it's more of just like a web design, you know. So she gives a few examples, including mine, which I present myself, but I don't go out and say, you should do this, you should start here, you should end here, you know. And I don't say the point of this is to do that. I simply say we did this so that we can progress on further. There's like a really fine line, and it's hard to explain without me actually showing my transmedia map, but that's the gist of it.
Thank you very much.
That makes sense.
It's
Yeah?
more modeling. It's over teaching. It's more modeling an effective way to engage in the project. So you're not giving the answers. You're modeling how to get there.
Thank you.
So are there any other questions, or are there people with experiences? Yes, Greg.
So the intention is to return to campus. Where are they doing these hours?
Oh, that's still under discussion.
So where did they do it in the past? Because again, there's no room.
Yeah, Greg, there's a couple of things. Sometimes there are rooms set up both in Fitterman or the main building, and that's done by the LRC, so that's cool. And then sometimes students go out for coffee, they meet in the cafeteria, they meet in the hallway. It really is, it's up to the personality of the SI. They might want to meet on social media. You know, WhatsApp is very popular, you know, that kind of thing, or Google Meet, Google Hangout, all those kinds of things. Because it's just easier rather than spending 20 minutes trying to find each other. Let's just get online, you know, and do it.
And even in-person ones, as I said, I had one SI who did one virtual session, and it ended up being the most popular one because you didn't have to get to campus to participate. And you know, we even put in there, if you need to come a little late, if you need to leave a little early because you're on break at work or something like that, that's fine. As long as when you're there, you're focused and participating.
May I add something, Professor Terry? So basically, I'm not sure if you're talking about on campus. I missed that piece. Or are you talking remotely, Professor Gordon?
On campus specifically, because I mean, my understanding is we'll be, you know, I do have 2 synchronous on campus scheduled for next semester at this point.
Sure. So on campus, as mentioned before, there are study rooms at Fenneman Hall. So the SI leaders are allowed to reserve those rooms. We also have the library. A lot of our SI leaders also reserve rooms in the library. We also have the Learning Resource Center. They can come to the Learning Resource Center and use the tables that are there. So there are various places. They can use the hallway if they like. They can go to the cafeteria. So there are many places that SI leaders can use for their out of class sessions, okay? We discourage leaving campus, like going to Starbucks or, you know, McDonald's and that stuff. We sort of discourage that. We would prefer SI leaders to stay on campus, okay? And in one of our locations, Fenneman, Murray, or the main campus. Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, it's fine for them to get together and off campus, but for the students who maybe economically, even a cup of coffee at Starbucks is
Correct.
So that's why if they want to do that just because they've created community, great. But as a go-to place, that might leave some students feeling out. So that's another reason to consider, maybe not. But I know one group that met in the cafeteria because it was just the easiest way for them to work. And so even though it was very public and it was for public speaking, so it actually helped loosen them up.
So, and just to, so being new to this, I'm, just went through my class roster from last semester. I'm like, oh, this would be a great individual as I'm listening to everyone speak. He has everything. So should I be reaching out to this individual to say, hey, this is an opportunity. Do you want a job? Because they are being paid. So should I start that process?
Yes, you just email them or call them. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's good to talk to more than one.
Yes.
To just see. But yeah, that's it. That begins the
Okay.
process.
So that made that a little easier. Okay. Thank you.
Maureen?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. You said that when we were in person, your SI would do one virtual session. How did they do that? Was it on Zoom or some other platform? Is there something we all have access?
I had suggested Zoom because that's the one I was familiar with, but I do believe that she used Upswing, which is the one that the tutoring uses.
Did we have Zoom before distance learning? Like
not at BMCC, but
Okay.
in other work that I do, I've been using Zoom for quite a long time in the theater. So so it was a familiar platform to me. Upswing is not. So of course that's what I thought of first. But yeah, so I think she actually used the Upswing because that's what tutoring was using.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? There's a lot of people here and not everybody. Virginia.
Yes, I just have also a very practical question. Like Professor Gordon, I also looking through my roster and I have a couple of students in mind that I think that it will be good for their future, for their resume. But at the same time, if any of the veterans faculty, what is the first offer? So I approached the student and I say, here, I found out about the SI. I think that you're a great fit. And here is what is involved. You will have to come to my class in the fall. You will be paid for this hours plus 2 hours outside assisting students. And that's, so they will become, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, it just definitely, it's again, because it's about creating the relationships. That's part of why we're not being overly structured about this is how you do it. Because
I don't need,
it's really important that you have that give and take with your SI leader. So, and that's pretty personal. So, but yeah, you just, with an email or with a text, however you usually communicate with that student, start the conversation and don't offer the job. Say, I think this might be a good fit. It's a great phrase to use. Are you interested? Let's talk. And then I say either in person or on the phone, because now I'm doing mostly first an email and then Zoom. In the past, after all the grades were in, I knew where the student would be. I'd go, do you have a moment? I'd like to have a quick talk with you. And because that is important to the work that we'd be doing, that we can have that conversation.
Absolutely. So, I totally will spend a little time thinking on that. My question actually is, if I am the SI, if I am the student, yes, and a professor approaches me, I will have the questions. What is involved and how I'll be reimbursed? Is it worth it for me, putting it in the context of, so I want to give them that specific information. How I'm going to do it, it's a different question. But what is the specifics I'm giving them? You need to be there and you need to be only that part.
Yeah. And what their relationship is, I know we're about to be sucked out, but what their relationship is to the students and to you needs to be.
But what they'll gain from it monetary wise.
It's $16 an hour.
how many hours per week?
It's that your, as Nadrani said, you know, for your number of class hours plus 2 or 3, depending on your department.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
So, oh, and people have already started leaving. We have 15 seconds. So great speaking with all of you. Lovely to meet some of you.
Bye.
Bye.